Hi, my name is Nadine Sims. I live in Scranton, Pennsylvania. I've been living in Scranton since 1943, I believe. I was about 3 years old when I came here with my parents. My father was a coal miner, and I believe he came to this area knowing there was a lot of mining going on here in this area. So he left the minefields of West Virginia and migrated north to Scranton, Pennsylvania, where he worked the minefield for a very short period of time.
Hi, and I'm Norma Jeffries, and that's my sister Nadine. And I was raised here in Scranton as well, but I left Scranton when I got married, and I moved off to the big city. But then after being married for 37 years, I returned to Scranton. You know, they say you always return to your roots, and I returned to Scranton after 37 years and joined the rest of my siblings that were still living here in Scranton.
Well, as I stated previously, I moved from West Virginia, a little small mining town, and they call it a holler. So I guess that means a small little town. That's where I was born. My first couple of years, I don't remember too much about it, but we moved out of there. I was about 3. Came to Scranton, started school here, kindergarten to 12th grade public school system.
There's 9 siblings. And the amazing thing about 9 of us, we grew up in the house that was 3 bedrooms. My mom and dad had 1 bedroom. The 4 boys had the other bedroom, and 5 girls were in 1 bedroom. So just knowing how girls are, you know, that was quite a crowded space. And when we were small, there was only 2 beds, and we slept in I guess it was 3 kids and girls in 1 bed, and 2 of the girls in the other bed, and top and bottom, which meant that the feet of the one at the bottom was in the face of the one at the top. But that was our home that we grew up in. It was nothing uncommon because that's how everybody else was living in the neighborhood, so you were okay. The house was heated with a coal stove, and my mom used to have to buy a bag of coal to heat the house, and there was only a potbelly stove in the dining room, and there's no heat upstairs. There was just a vent where the heat went up through the vent to heat the rooms upstairs. But we made it through the winter without any kind of central heating system. But all 9 of us were in that one house.
What my sister said about us living in such close spaces, by time the older kids, my older brothers, my one brother was off to college, my other brother was in the Air Force, and the other was in the Army. So by the time we came along, getting older, there was more space because there was less people living there. So it was tight, but we had a good time.
Well, growing up in Scranton in the 50s and 60s, there was only 750, I think, of us Black people in Scranton at that time. So there wasn't a lot of friction or anything because we weren't enough to make a friction at all. Our school, like my sister said, we went to Washington School. The teachers were very good to us. They made sure that we got a good education. We went off from there, we went to high school. I was part of different clubs at the high school. We went to the Friday night dances, and there was no friction or anything, even though there was just such a short, small minority of us. In the summertime, we went to the playground. We participated in the volleyball leagues between the different playgrounds in the city. And believe it or not, I used to run track. And we would run track in the summertime when all the playgrounds would get together. And of course, there was Naog Park where we would go, and that's where we went swimming. But my mom used to give us 5 cents, a nickel. And we would buy a sugar daddy. Now, why would you ever buy a sugar daddy? We only made you thirstier, but that way it would last the whole afternoon that we were at Naog Park. Well, we grew up in Pine Street Baptist Church, which is no longer there. And as his name says, was Pine Street. That's where it was located, which was only about maybe 3/4 of a block from our house where we grew up. So of course the church was a very big part of our upbringing. We would go to church, and it wasn't uncommon for us to go to Sunday school, church and then night church. So we were in church the whole day. I can remember as I hit my teenage years and Elvis Presley and those people were on like at Sullivan at night, but we couldn't see that because we were back in church at night. Everybody we were talking about in school the next day, but we were back in school, in church on Sunday night. It was a very big part of our upbringing, Pine Street Baptist Church, and our Baptist Youth Fellowship group. And I always still remember Mrs. Roten teaching us to pray. And, and I can remember asking her, you pray about everything? Even before you take a test? Yes, yes, yes. And I remember her words to this day. Before you step out on anything, you should pray about it. If it's only a few second prayer, you should pray about it,
We went over activities. Friday nights was football night. And you go to the football games, and then after football games, you have sock hops at the local school, the gym. That was a lot of fun. It was really a sock hop too, but you couldn't wear your shoes on the basketball court.
If I could just add some more to our church activity, one of the things we did was as they tried to keep us teenagers involved in a lot, and we would have Saturday afternoon socials, we called them, and we sold Wimpies and Kool-Aid, watered down Kool-Aid. But people would come and they would buy from us, and we used that money to go on hay rides in the fall, and we would have one of the men, the older gentleman from our church, would take us up to Mount Cobb or something for a hay ride, and it was a true hay ride with hay in a wagon, and it would drive us through the fields and everything, and we would be sitting in the hay, and we would be singing songs and things. And it was always in my memory now, it was a very good time. Sometimes I go back up there in that area to see if I could find where it was, but I can't seem to find where it was, but it was always a good time. And then they would bring us back home. So that was a big activity in the summertime with us, with the church. The church is no longer there. Maybe my sister could tell you more, because after I got married at Pine Street Baptist Church and moved out of the city, but then they started to tear it down, and the stained glass windows in that church were absolutely beautiful. And so maybe my sister can tell you about what started that process of demolishing that church.
The church was demolished because of the mine subsidences. These buildings were no longer safe. They were just caving into the mines. And the reason that they were caving in, because of greed, they were mined too close to the surface so that there was no foundation for these buildings. Not just our church, the whole area. It's called the Central Tech area. And it shouldn't just say Central Tech, because it happened in West Side, Old Forge, Taylor, where everything just sink into the ground. I want to talk about my mother, too. I forgot. My mother, hard worker. I used to watch her when she cleaned the house. She scrubbed the floors on her hands and knees. She washed the walls. We didn't paint the walls or wallpaper them that frequently. She would wash the walls to clean them. She would scrub the bathroom floors on her hands and knees. Our floor was wood, but by the time she scrubbed, it'd be like light-colored pine color. By the time she finished scrubbing it, she would wash the curtains and put them on the backyard. I don't know what they call it, stretcher or something. I don't know what it was, but she would put them out there. And I remember watching her, how hard she worked. And I said, I'll never do that. I'll never scrub floors on my hands and knees. But she did it. And I don't know, I say to this day, I don't know how she did it. Fed us kids, kept us clean. In fact, I remember my one teacher asking me who ironed my clothes. And I'm thinking, my mother, of course, who else would, But I guess my mother took such pride in the way she did her work, pride in the way she ironed, pride in the way she sent us off to school. And the teacher was just amazed that this little, poor little kid had clothes that ironed. But I think about her a lot, how hard she was. She's a hard worker.
And the thing about that with our mom, as far as our clothes go, she used to tell us, don't buy cheap. And we would go to Woolworths. We all had a little job. We had like $10 we would get paid, and we would go to Woolworths or Learners or some store. And she would always tell us, don't buy cheap. It's not gonna last you long. It's not gonna last you long. Well, guess what? You know, that's still embedded within us now as we're grown, mature adults. And you know, that's still embedded in us, not to buy cheap because it's not gonna last. You know, she used to always tell us that. And she would get so angry with us because we would get the 25-cent hoagies at Woolworths, which was open on Thursday night. And we would have the hoagie at Woolworths, and she would have had fixed some kind of dinner for us. And then we come and we don't want to eat that. We had a hoagie, you know, and she would get so annoyed with us about that. But she always tried to teach us the finer things of life. She took us to the library, and she made sure that we were readers, and she read to us. And, you know, when I hear them talking about parents reading to kids, well, our mom read to us automatically when we were young. Now, my sister became a reader. She would get up under the covers at night to finish reading her book with the flashlight, and I read because it was necessary. You know, I had such a burning desire to read like she did.
I do want to say one thing about my father. As my sister has said, there were 9 of us, so the first 3 were boys, and there was 5 girls. The youngest was a boy. Well, my father was so concerned that my younger brother did not have male influence in his life because he had 5 older sisters. So he spent a lot of extra time with him, more so than he spent with us. So he had a positive male influence in his life. My father was very protective of his daughters. You know, he wanted to know where we were going. If he saw us in another part of town that he thought that we shouldn't be, he'd go home to my mother, where is Nadine going? What is she doing? But he was very watchful and protective of all his little girls. He called us little girl. Little girl, where are you going?
You know, and just to add to that, with our dad, you know, he was, like she said, very, very proud of us and all, but we could do no wrong. But when we got married and we started having kids, for the boys, when their wives had kids, he would buy cigars and pass them out to everybody. But when we had kids, the girls, there was no recognition. You know, he wasn't crazy about patting us on the back because we had girls, but he said, oh, they're not Sims. Yes, they are Sims, just that they have a different last name. So he was always very proud of his kids.